Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities, Inc. Today's webinar focuses on CMC Metals Ltd, which is focused on its projects in the emerging Rancheria Silver District in the Yukon and British Columbia, as well as it has interests in projects in copper gold projects in Newfoundland. Today I have with me on the webinar Kevin Brewer, President, CEO, and Director at CMC Metals. The format of the webinar today will be made up of two parts. The first, in which Kevin will provide an update on CMC Metals, including an overview of the company's ongoing exploration work at its flagship Silver Hart property, as well as its other projects. I also expect that he'll provide an update on the company's recent acquisitions and additional properties near its Rancheria project, which itself is near Core Mining's Silvertip mine. The second part of the webinar will take questions live, so please send us your questions via the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. And you can type them in anytime throughout the webinar. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into the presentation. So for CMC Metals, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the CMC Metals corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for CMC Metals specific disclosures. So now I'll turn it over to Kevin to update you on CMC Metals and what investors have to look forward to with the company.
Well, thanks Taylor, and thanks to everyone who's joining us today. This is CMC's first webinar, and I really appreciate Red Cloud organizing this for us. We think you'll hear one of the best kept secrets in the industry about how CMC is a silver-focused company with exposure to gold and copper plays. It's an exciting story, and I hope you will stay with us. I will be making forward-looking statements, as Taylor noted. My aim is to inform you as to why you should invest in CMC Metals Ltd or continue to remain an investor with us. CMC was one of the top performing silver explorers in 2020. Our resource grades recently announced for the Silver Hart Project are approximately 140% greater than the average of silver explorers and developers. And in the exploration business, the saying goes, grade is king. And I will be telling you how we have acquired a significant portfolio of silver properties in the emerging Rancheria Silver District that is in northern British Columbia and extends into south central Yukon. Here's the location of our projects. You can see basically our silver plays are out in the west. We do have one gold polymetallic program, logjam, also in the west. And then we have two gold copper projects in Newfoundland. Our key objective in 2021 is to add resources in the ground at Silver Hart through a 10,000 meter drill program that will commence mid-June. This will then set the stage to advance the project to preliminary economic assessment. This work is supported by a lot of technical information where we have combined geological, geochemical, geophysical, and drilling results into a complex 3D model at Silver Hart to identify new drill targets within known mineralized areas and new targets. Our aim is simple: add resources in the ground quickly. At other projects such as the gold copper plays like Bridal Veil and Terra Nova, we need to determine their exploration potential to see if they should be promoted to advanced exploration. Being a silver-focused explorer is perfectly aligned with the market, as silver is both a precious metal and an industrial metal. And in the emerging global economy, green global economy, silver is needed in such things as solar panels, numerous electrical applications, 5G networks, and has a ton of other uses. Market awareness of silver and its importance has tremendously increased, and CMC feels that we are now positioned to take advantage of what I describe as a silver bull market. Our cornerstone silver project is Silver Hart. It encompasses the Silver Hart and Blue Heaven claims, comprising almost 4,000 hectares of prospective ground in the Rancheria Silver district. We think the Rancheria Silver district is comparable in size and exploration potential to the highly productive silver districts such as the Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, which I think is ranked like the third highest in terms of silver production in the world, and places like northern Mexico. To date, CMC has identified 7.5 million ounces, grading 584 grams per ton silver equivalent, which if you equated it, it works out to be about 20.6 ounces per ton. And at yesterday's price, at a gross in situ value, that would amount to a $540 per ton piece of ore there. So it's a very good package, and so it doesn't take a lot of ground to start to add up to an economic project. At Silver Hart, we have completed 11,900 meters of drilling, but we barely scratched the surface. Our average depth of drill holes in the recent resource estimate was only to a depth of 60 meters. And from this figure, you can see these northeast structures, all parallel, extending from Silver Hart into the Blue Heaven property. We have identified they all occur in and are proximal to the Cassiar batholith, which is basically a granite and granodiorite. That was the heat source, and that intrusion resulted in numerous faults, which then became conduits for the mineralizing fluids, resulting in the high-grade lead-zinc veins that have been the subject of exploration at Silver Hart for many years. These veins then rise up and they go into the sediments, and at that point, they start to alter the sediments and form what we call carbonate replacement style deposits. Carbonate replacement style deposits are one of the most common sources of silver, lead, zinc ores in the world. So we just see that in Silver Hart, where the veins extend for over a kilometer, and then they go into these overlying sediments, and we've been able to work out the contacts of the granite and that using geophysics. So we have a lot better handle on now where to target drills and to understand what's going on our site. Blue Heaven is also being brought into the pipeline this year. We've only taken a brief look at it last year. It was a great property, but we really didn't work it last year. It has over 36 mineral showings, the same northeast fault structures, and over 4 kilometers of highly prospective terrain that we are confident we can identify numerous great targets for the 2022 season. Here is a quick shot of the main zone at Silver Hart, and you can see those veins. They extend for, especially the main vein from TM to KL, extends for over 1.4 kilometers, and that has been the focus of exploration to date. But then we started looking at other areas, and everywhere we started looking, we found interesting prospects for silver, the possibility for silver mineralization. Here is one of the veins. This is at it's labeled K area, but it's KL area. This is near the top of the veins, and it's just close to where we're getting into the sediments. And at that point, the zones start to widen out, and the mineralization, as I say, we'll be looking in those areas for the carbonate replacement occurrences. As you can see in our resource modeling, the veins have only been delineated to around that 60-meter depth mark. and they remain wide open. Mineralization starts at surface throughout the property and is therefore highly amenable to initial open pit mining, and then would likely be further mined through underground techniques. In the main zone, CMC has taken bulk samples in the past, and from 2011 to 2013, there was a focus on removing some material. It was then taken and sold to China. And they also conducted some preliminary metallurgical testing around that time. The metallurgical testing showed that flotation method recoveries could be highly successful in recovering lead and silver from the circuit. We have more work to do in this area, but at this stage, it is nice to know that one can achieve good recoveries of metals with conventional flotation techniques. And through recent exploration efforts, we have identified that the mineralization in these high-grade silver veins extends out into an alteration halo in both the footwall and the hanging wall, giving us nice mineable width grades. For example, 10.5 meters grading 898 grams per ton silver in a trench. Or, for example, even in our drill intersections, 5.5 meters grading over 1,100 grams per ton silver with 11.4% lead and 8.6% zinc. And, you know, it's not all about the silver. The lead and the zinc are very important to us. In fact, if you crunch the numbers, you will find that if the lead and the zinc becomes as important to the bottom line to us as it does with the silver content. In Blue Heaven, our preliminary exploration identified similar high-grade mineralization to what we see at Silver Hart. A bulk sample from there taken in 1999 graded 8,563 grams per ton silver, 56.2% lead, 9.5% zinc, and a little bit of gold, 1.2 grams per ton gold. Every now and then we do see a bit of gold kicking around, but it has not been significant up to date. 6 zones are already identified at Blue Heaven, all with high-grade mineralization and relatively unexplored to date. From what we've learned at Silver Hart, it led us to look around for other prospective properties that might be available to us within the Rancheria Silver district. Fortunately, we have managed to secure 3 properties, all in very close proximity to the Silvertip mine and mill owned by Kerr Mining. On 2 of these properties, exploration conducted in the 1980s resulted in non-43-101 compliant historic resources. At Rancheria South, which is in the dark blue, that was the first property we picked up. We have the Halliday prospect. It has an historic resource estimated at 36,287 tons, grading 427 grams per ton silver with 20.8% zinc and 15% lead. That equates to 2.4 million ounces of silver equivalent at a phenomenal grade of 2,039 grams per ton. In addition, hot off the press, just announced yesterday, we picked up the Amy claims and the Silver Knife claims, both in the light blue color. The Amy prospect also has a non-compliant resource of 1.8 million ounces of silver equivalent at a grade of 790 grams per ton. Our hope for these prospects, especially with Halliday and Amy, is to quickly generate a 43-101 compliant resource and advance studies to see if we can move them into near-term production, seeing as they are literally located next door to Silvertip. And we are working also to forge a strong working relationship with Kerr to process some of our ore in the future. People may also ask, well, how can you afford these projects? We carefully considered that in entering into the two agreements. Both came at reasonable cost to us, as have all of our acquisitions. We have not imposed on ourselves major payments or property expenditure requirements on us within the first year. These were key considerations by the board and myself. I also will tell you, we're pursuing entering into a joint venture on the Rancheria South projects. We feel that's the best way to go, and we can maintain ourselves as an operator. That way we can continue to be focused on raising money for Silver Hart, and we're in discussions with groups on establishing a joint venture for the whole Rancheria South project as I speak. Here's a little bit more detail on Rancheria South, and you can see on the slide in the red dots there's 9 showings that all look to be highly prospective. These prospects are all in the right geology. They have the right geophysical signatures, and location-wise being close to a mill designed to process silver, lead, zinc ores, to us says huge bonus. I'm going to just switch off just to our copper gold projects for a minute. We have here Bridal Veil and Terra Nova in Newfoundland and Logjam in Yukon. Over 8,500 hectares of plains, all with identified zones of good grades of mineralization. Bridal Veil is our best copper gold project with 9 showings. Is transected by the Trans-Canada Highway. It's literally 10 kilometers east of Gander in Newfoundland. It has identified potential to host an epigenetic orogenic deposit, and for many, you can know of the high activity of gold exploration in Newfoundland right now. So we're pretty excited to have an excellent property. Most of the northern part of this property has not been touched yet. There's only the southernmost extension of that property where you see all those green stars where exploration is really focused to date. So we've got a lot of ground to have a look on this property. Here's a nice example of the mineralization at Bridal Veil. You get some impressive grades there, up to 9.4% copper with good lead, silver, and gold content. It's an early stage project, and we'll be looking to do that. Right now, we are evaluating some of the former geophysics that were done to start to try and understand the mineralizing system on this project. Terra Nova is also an early stage project. It in itself is transected by the Churchill Falls power line. So there's a road going right through the property. And we'll be working there this summer as well. Prospecting to date has identified nice grades of high-grade silver, copper, bismuth, tungsten, and minor gold in quartz veins. Logjam is a good property, but it's a bit more of a challenging prospect to us due to difficult terrain, and we're going to hold off on doing work this year on that property, but we certainly do hope to revisit it in 2022. This year, as our projects are well advanced into the advanced stage in both BC and Yukon, it is important for us to forge strong working relationships with First Nations and the communities close to our projects. In that regard, we are planning to initiate consultations with First Nations with the aim of completing exploration agreements and to start the discussion on future working relationships. To close things off, let's revisit our cornerstone project, Silver Hart. On a relative grade profile, what we have discovered at Silver Hart to date in terms of resource grade that we are approximately 40% above existing mines globally and 140% greater than the average of silver explorers and developers. This chart was put forward to us by Red Cloud. They did some excellent work on it, and I suggest after the presentation you take a look at it, because as I said, grade is king, and we're right in a very good position with respect to a lot of projects in the world. In terms of our capital profile, we have approximately 70 million shares outstanding, 26 million in warrants, most of which are due to be exercised by midsummer, which will provide us with funds to help support our exploration. And fully diluted, we stand at 97.1 million shares. 33% of our shares are held by management and insiders, and our burn rates are low as we have remained small in size. Our board is a hardworking, dedicated team. Most of the board have been with CMC for more than 5 years. We meet at least monthly and often more frequently. We've started also a strong advisory group who are involved in our activities. So I hope you now agree that CMC Metals is a top performer. We have projects with excellent resource grades in an emerging silver district. We are hands-on and we keep overhead low. The funds we raise go into the ground, and the bonus to investing in us right now is that our price is at a low entry point. I think we were trading this morning at 24 cents. We hope you will join us in what is a very exciting growth stage company. Please also check out our website at cmcmetals.ca as we regularly add information and data to it. This presentation and all of the maps will be there, and it will give you the opportunity to take a closer look at our data. And I'm always very happy also to have a chat with anybody at any time and to send you further information if you're interested. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today, and I'll now reach out to anyone who has questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kevin. So now we'll turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. We have had a few come in, and a couple are kind of centering around the opportunity at Rancheria, and maybe if you can provide a bit more color on what the opportunity is, given that the Silvertip mine is nearby and that they're looking to do a restart later in 2021.
Well, Taylor, what we've noticed about specifically about the Rancheria South project and Amy was that we're in the right geology. We're right on that contact between the Bathier, the Bathier and the sediments, and so we're seeing exactly a repeat of the geology that we see at Silver Hart. It was very familiar to us. It was exactly what we wanted to see. But then on top of that, the key plums is that we've got two areas right now with an historic resource. The first one being Halliday, that was identified by United Keno Hill Mines in the mid-1980s. And they actually had planned to mine out that resource and truck it up to what is today Lexco's operations in the Keno Belt. So they had plans to do that. And then the silver price dropped off in that time. It plummeted, and nobody revisited it, and the property got abandoned. So we feel there's these great opportunities to take these two historic resources and quickly focus in work there and bring those back into 43-101 compliant status, and then look at the engineering and the permitting of getting those projects underway so that we can put those get that ore out into trucks and truck it down the road to the Kerr mill. Now, obviously, we have to have the cooperation of Kerr Mining to do that, but the beauty of both of those resources is the grades. The grades are very high and would supplement the grade to Kerr's material. So I think it would be a no-brainer, in fact, for them to join with us in a cooperative effort. We're about to fly a geophysics program over that area in March, and Kerr and CMC are working on that project together as well. So we're already working on cooperative efforts in that area.
Great. And with these acquisitions, are you've already got a lot to kind of work on there. Are you looking at any other potential acquisitions in the area, or is that, are you looking to build up more of a land position, I guess, in that area? Or?
Well, in that part of the terrain, actually, there's just a couple other players. I mean, there's JDS who sold the project to Kerr, and so Jeff Stibbert still holds a bit of ground in that area. We haven't talked to Jeff, but obviously he's got some properties bordering us. I don't know. We'd have to take a harder look at that and see. With regards to Kerr, I mean, they've wrapped up a bunch of other ground there, and really, I don't see anything sort of road accessible and of immediate interest to us that we've talked to a couple other players, but prices weren't right.
Right. Okay. I guess turning to some of your other projects, kind of what exploration you have planned this year for the Silver Hart property, and I think there's a question that came in if you have a drill campaign with a number of meters for Silver Hart.
Yeah, we're planning to put 10,000 meters on the project.
Okay.
We did a lot of ground geophysical work sort of in the latter part of the season, which identifies some new targets to us. We're running an airborne survey as well that will supplement that data, which we feel will add some gaps. We may, in fact, have to do some more ground geophysics early in the season to sort of close off areas that we were sort of halfway into an anomaly, and because of our grids that we never got further down to do, we could go back in and analyze. But we've got tons of targets from our work, both in the existing main zone and the two other zones that we've identified there, the KW and the south. And the geophysics is pointing to very strong anomalies that need to be investigated here. So we found a lot of surface expressions in geochemical and in our trenches in all of these areas, and of course all of those things that have to be followed up. But going back to the main zone where we've identified our resource to date, we're only down 60 meters. In our business, 60 meters is nothing. We need to get down to 200, 300 meters, start investigate these veins at depth, and who knows what we're going to start to see in those depths as well. There's no sign to us that they're not continuous to those kind of depths, and in these type of deposits, that's not unusual as well. So we're quite hopeful that we can build resources both in areas that we have drilled before as well as in new areas.
Right. Okay. And another question kind of on that topic is, you did have the technical report update come out not too long ago. Somebody's just wondering, I guess, who did that and who will do a future kind of PEA on the Silver Hart project, if you know.
Well, in fact, we don't, but we, Longford Exploration Services have been a long-time explorer contract to us. They're based out of Vancouver. They have some really good young geologists, excellent GIS systems supporting all the work, and we're looking at continuing our service relationship with them. But I will tell you, we are looking at some other key service groups to help us who are more specialists in resource estimation. We feel we need that, and we have started talking to a couple of groups in that area. And we also are looking at some specialized service things, some artificial intelligence type service companies that may be able to mine our data a little bit better to pinpoint more finely what's happening in terms of like zoning in our deposits. The amount of lead and zinc changes and zonation is common in these kind of systems, and it's important to our understanding of the overall mineralizing system. So we are looking at bringing in some more specialist teams into this whole exercise at this point.
Right. Okay. And for the exploration this year, are you fully funded for that?
No, we're not at this stage. We will have to do a financing in the short term. The financing we plan to do is probably going to roll out in the next couple of weeks, and that funds will take us until well into the later part of the summer. We'll have we should have probably at least I'd say around 3,500, 4,000 meters drilled by that point, and we'll have half the results back. Last year we got in early and got results out a lot quicker than most people. We plan to do the same thing this year. Get in the field really early, and get those results out. And with encouragement from that, then we'll be able to finish off the whole 10,000 meters.
Right. Okay. And then for that drilling, do you have all your permits in place for that yet? I know you're intimately familiar with the Yukon, so
Yeah, well, you're correct. I used to work with the government back in 2003 for a few years. I was director of mineral development and in charge of the Yukon Geological Survey in my job. And I've lived in Yukon for 13 years. So I am very experienced with all the ins and outs of the Yukon system. We are fully permitted at Silver Hart and Blue Heaven, but we do need to obtain permits for the Rancheria South, and actually it's the next thing on my desk to do. So we're going to get the permitting underway for those things, and we also have to do permitting for Newfoundland, but the early stage permitting in those projects is really not a challenge.
Great. Okay. There's a couple of questions wondering about production at Silver Hart and processing of tailings. I know there's some history with the project. Maybe you just want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, there was the concept of the company around the 2005 to 2010 period was to set up a modular mill and to process the material. Unfortunately, the company didn't have really enough environmental baseline work completed, and the development application struggled, and eventually it was dropped. We've looked at that and looked at resurrecting that concept, but we felt it was better actually to go in there and be an explorer for a while, build up a resource to see if we could generate a standalone project for a much larger scale development. And we really feel that the project has the potential to easily generate something in the 30 to 50 million silver equivalent ounces range. And so that's what we're going after right now. So we backed off of any development notion at Silver Hart at this stage. We're focusing on building resources in the ground.
Right. Okay. And another question, wondering if you're planning to do a bulk sample at Silver Hart.
Not this year.
Okay.
Not this year. Part of it is that we really need to finish off more improvements to the access road. And the bridges are old; they need to be replaced. We are in active discussions with Yukon Highways, who are actually responsible for the maintenance and construction of that road. They helped us last year. They put some money in there and upgraded 12 kilometers of the road last year. They plan to. We hope that they will do a similar project this year. We've already made application for a repeat of that program, and we're going to do some work ourselves on our own road. We have to reduce the grades of the hill, the final hill. We got like grades of 10 to 13% places for just like a 500-meter stretch. So we've had a design for a whole new road there that's in final stages of permitting, and only then can you really start to roll material out of that area in a sensible manner. So we're holding off for at least this year on any bulk sample coming out of Blue Heaven and/or Silver Hart.
Okay. Okay, so I think we've gone through all the questions that have come in. Maybe you could just sum up by outlining kind of the key catalysts for investors in the near term.
Well, I think the key catalyst to watch is the success of the drill at Silver Hart, especially in the early stages of this. We'll be testing some new areas, and we're pretty excited about going into those areas. There's huge geophysical anomalies that we're drilling off. In those areas, we're not seeing so much exposures on site, so we're really interested to see what the reason for those anomalies is. We think they could be mantle-style deposits, very similar to Silvertip, and so we're going to be testing those in early stage. As well, I mean, I think it's important to look for what happens at depth in these deposits. So, I mean, the two aspects of that will be interesting drilling. We're like everybody else. We're optimistic, and we hope that we're going to get nice intersections and be able to announce those out to all of our shareholders. And if not, we've got a lot of head scratching to do to figure out what the hell is going on. To be totally honest, but we'd be very surprised considering what we know of these deposits if it goes in that direction. We're very confident in our modeling and from what we know of these deposits that we're going to have good exploration success.
Great. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. So I'd like to thank Kevin from CMC Metals for taking the time to host the webinar today with Red Cloud Securities. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in with us. And just a reminder before we sign off that our next webinar will feature Alianza Minerals on February 16th at 2 p.m. And thank you again for tuning in, and thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Taylor. And thank you for everybody joining us today.
All right. Bye now.